Hi, I'm back. It's been almost 2 years, and I'm coming back with a video that is very important for me. I reached out and asked 50 ex-students about their best piece of advice for the STANAG exam. Those students have already successfully passed their STANAG exams, and I would like them to share their best piece of advice with you. If you're at this point that you're preparing for the exam, I think it's good to hear people who have already gone this path. And not all of them responded, so I don't have 50 tips for you, but I've collected the ones that I got from my students. And I divided them into four categories. The first one will refer to mindset and motivation. The second one will be specifically about methods, strategies, and habits. The third one will be referring to the practice part, and the last one, the teacher part. So there'll be four areas that we'll cover. Let's start with mindset and motivation. And here are some piece of advice that my students shared with you. So the first one comes from Eva from Hungary, and she shared a little bit about her own experience and the fact that it was very challenging at the beginning, and you shouldn't be expecting results or success early on. You have to be patient, but at the same time, do not give up. Um, Eva also shared something that I would like you to hear, that she wasn't particularly interested in military topics, and some of them were a bit overwhelming too, especially the ones related to the news, geopolitics. So her strategy was to find some positive pieces of news during her study time, because, news can get very overwhelming and it's very negative. So she was trying to find the positive ones, and that was her way of doing it. Other people shared also that you should be, for example, Damian from Poland said that you should be passionate, curious, involved in the exam topics. So try to find some interest in what you're learning about and approach it not just from the language perspective, but also the knowledge perspective. He said something very important. It's horrible to hate this work and this whole journey that you'll be on. You should learn to love the process. Javier from Spain said also that for him, reading or watching topics that can be interesting for him were very important. If I have to study or practice something in a different language, at least I can try to find a topic that isn't boring. So I agree with that. Try to find some aspects of it, some topics that you're genuinely interested in and you would like to read about them also in your native language. Okay, the next one is also related to mindset and motivation, and that one comes from Javier from Zaragoza, okay, as he introduces himself here. So he's empathizing a lot with how you feel, maybe a bit overwhelmed and waiting for motivation to find you. But he says something, well, honestly, it won't find you. The secret is not wait for a perfect moment. Stop waiting, start acting. And he says, just do one small thing, read one page, answer one question. Okay? That's it. Okay, so with really small steps, and I couldn't agree more with this piece of advice that he's giving you. Start small. Don't start with extremely intense routines because then it's really easy to get demotivated and not being able to maintain this crazy rhythm. And Elid from Hungary also says very short but very spot on piece of advice. My one piece of advice would be do not wait. Start today. So don't postpone it, that you're going to do it in a perfect moment in your life, because most likely this perfect moment will not find you. Okay? There will never be a perfect moment. Okay, a little bit more advice, this time from Magda from Poland. That's not me, that's my student. She says, take responsibility for your learning. And I love this piece of advice because it's so short, but it says a lot. Very often we try to make another person responsible for our process. It's usually the teacher that we try to make responsible. The teacher is your guide. The teacher will support you in this process, but the responsibility is yours. Let's not forget about that. Alessio from Italy, who is an air traffic controller, says that he really loves this quote. He says, I don't quit when I'm tired. I quit when I'm done. Okay. So I want you to think about this sentence. I think it's a really good one. And David from Italy says that you need to be patient and work on yourself. I guess also he means to work on your mindset, your learning mindset, especially because when you set goals, it can be discouraging if you don't achieve them. It's true, you have to be resilient. And even if it doesn't happen for you on the first try, it's really important to not to give up, as some other students said, because maybe not on the first attempt, but it may happen on the second. Right. Let's talk a little bit about methods, strategies, and habits. That's a very important part. Giuseppe from Italy is telling you, my best piece of advice is study method. So finding the right study method that suits your needs. You'll arrive at the exam prepared and with much more confidence. Couldn't agree more. Okay? Uh, he's also saying that I'm the right choice. Thanks, Giuseppe, for saying that. Ciro from Italy says, he has some really good piece of advice for you. He says, I could give dozens of tips to your students, but the most effective one is definitely getting English into your daily routine. 100% yes. English needs to become a part of your life, and you cannot be just studying it for 1 hour a week and expecting great results. No, sorry, that's not going to happen in this way. He says, writing a few lines every day or making audio and talking about your day, describing the landscape on the way home and work, describing the people we meet, and so on. He says that for him, the most fun thing was making the voice recordings because I knew no one would listen to them, but only he would. So this can help you to leave your comfort zone, as he says. And I agree. And I know that probably you'll tell me that you don't want to hear your voice on the recording, but it is important to break that barrier in your head in order to progress. Right. Uh, what else do we have here? Practice. So the practical part. Let's see what my students have shared with you. Pedro from Portugal says, practice your 4 skills every single day, even if it's only for 5 minutes each. Read an article, listen to a short podcast, write 15 lines, 15 approximately, on a specific topic, and speak into your recorder or smartphone for a few minutes every day. No excuses. Right? I like this one. No excuses. That is the key to improving your knowledge and skills for the STANAG exam. Consistency is the key. I can agree with that. And regular English habits very often are the key to success. Riccardo from Italy is talking more about the specific exam practice because one part is the habits that you have in your everyday life, podcasts, reading articles, so exposing yourself to authentic English. But at the same time, we also need to train the exam part. So Ricardo says, train under real exam conditions. Same timing, no dictionary, no distractions. 100% yes to this one. That's what really built my confidence and helped me stay focused on exam day. Absolutely. Davide from Italy says, my advice is that more advanced students, okay, so more advanced students, he's talking to you now, should focus on simulations, so mock exams, learning what types of exercises are required. Yes, you need to know the exam very well. While those who have never taken a JFLT exam, JFLT or STANAG exam or SLP exam, should focus on aspects such as grammar, vocabulary, etc. Right, so building some basics, strong, solid basics for sure. Alessandro from Italy is even suggesting how much time your preparation should take. And I also agree with what he said here, because for me, the sweet spot is between 6 to 12 months. Okay? For some people, it might be closer to 6. For others, it might be a full year. But he says, my golden tip for people who are preparing for this exam is begin to study 6, 7, 8 months before. That depends from our level of English, and that's true. Everything depends on what is your initial level. What are we starting with? And he says, in this month, I would suggest to stay focused on listening and reading tests. 2 months before the exam, the only thing they have to do is to follow your advice. Okay? Not only the 2 last months, I would say all the time. Now, some students also gave advice when it comes to choosing a teacher to work with. So I wanted to also share those pieces of advice from you. Nikolai from Romania said, find a teacher who adapts to you, your goals, your schedule, your learning style. Yes, you have to be a good match with your teacher. I agree. That made all the difference for me. For me, that teacher was Magda. Her approach helped me unlock my full potential. Thanks. And Fabio from Italy said, the best decision you can make when preparing for any exam is to have a great teacher who can truly guide and support you. It makes all the difference. Okay? Absolutely. It makes all the difference, definitely. So these are some of the pieces of advice that my students wanted to share with you. I hope you found them useful. And I want to encourage all of you watching to write your pieces of advice in the comments for other people and in order to be helpful for those who are planning to take the STANAG, SLP, JFLT exam in the future. Please share what is your best piece of advice. And see you in my next video. Now we're going to see each other more often.